Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put everything else. So you should have watched H on creating categories, and this is more on creating categories. So we put several things into the test category. Actually, we just put two things, and now we have several other things to put in a parallel category. So rather than have categories and subcategories, let's keep it simple. We want two subcategories of the whole course. And so we're going to make the new category. We simply come down, add category, and we'll start simple and we'll just call that classwork. And unless you know what you're doing, my recommendation is just leave it the same as everything else is. Muck with these things later. You may have reason to, but for now keep it simple. And we're going to save the changes. And then the next step, of course, is to move everything into that category. And as we saw in the previous section, rather than move them one at a time, we'll go ahead and move one to show you. We'll write this poem, hit move, and it gives me the option so I can scroll down into the new category called classwork, move it that way, but that's kind of tedious and I have to do them one at a time. So instead, I'll go over here and I'll select all of these and I'll uncheck the couple that I don't care about. We'll write a poem is already there, but I'll uncheck it anyway. And then using this drop down, move selected items to classwork. And then hopefully with just those few steps, all of my things will now be in the classwork category. In addition, I'd rather have my classwork before my tests. So now we have two categories inside the course total. So here's our course, which has simple weighted mean of grades, and then we have tests and classwork. And it's unfortunate with this theme that these are so light. But I want to just move this one up. So I have the same edit options here, and I'm going to move this category up above tests. And simply put it here. I could actually put it within tests, but then things would get funky. So now we have classwork and we have tests. And this also gives the students a better way of looking at things. It's worth noting also that the order that we put these things in the gradebook does not reflect the order that they appear in the course. And this is unfortunate. It used to be however you put it in the course was how it appeared in the gradebook. So when you moved an item from week 3 to week 4, the relative arrangement changed in your gradebook to match. Now if you move it on the main course page, you also have to move it here. What's happened with me over the years is everything's gotten out of order. So you have to kind of take a disciplined approach and open them side by side. So we now have two categories, and you see they both have the possibility of 100%. One of them, the homework, has a little extra credit possible, and those two work out to a simple weighted mean, and then the overall grade is also a simple weighted mean. So it's important to understand, back to our earlier discussion about what simple weighted mean actually means, because when it comes to categories, you may or may not want that. In this case, if our categories are averages, in other words, between 1 and 100%, and we have two of them, then they're essentially weighted equally, no matter how many things are under each item. So in this case, we look at this and we have two categories, so each one should be worth 50%. So if they did all of their tests and none of their homework, they would probably, and did perfect score, they'd have 50%. You may not want that. You may actually want your tests to be worth 33% and your homework to be worth 66% in this example. And that's where it gets a little trickier, because now we're not talking about the simple weighted mean. We're talking about the weighted mean, right? And that's where you have to go back to that help file and kind of understand the difference between the two. So we'll look at that, and if we have the weighted mean, that means basically that we have to assign weights to each category, the parent category, not the individual items within it. So we'll look at that next.